What's happening, people? So the end of the mechanical man. A mechanical man is something that I was for a very long time. I did a lot of no skill labor, low skill labor, low and no skill labor, and so many of these repetitive jobs that humans do, they are kind of those people that do the jobs are a stand-in for machines. It happens when, say, a production process isn't as good as it can be, or some kind of short-term calculation of costs determines that it's cheaper for a man to do it, or a person to do it, than for them to design and build and install a machine to do it. So a person has a job in a sense that they are a lesser machine in some ways. They're doing the work of a machine, but of course they can't do it as well as a machine. But it's kind of the job description, or the job idea. It's to be a machine. I once worked in a post office where there was one section of it where it was sorting mail, and people sorted the mail. At the same time, there was kind of a head warehouse where there was a machine that also sorted the mail. That machine could do the job that these people were doing, and the machine could read the address, a written address, and sort it into areas, regions, streets, even. The only reason why the people were doing it was because of unions. Unions protected these workers. I'm not saying that's bad. In fact, I think it's probably a good thing in many ways. It prevented that kind of drastic change, that drastic loss of jobs, loss of a culture even. This was many years ago. Now, I think that machine has taken most of those jobs. They were being phased out. It was something that that union had bargained for, and it was inevitable, and they managed to slow the implementation of the machine and kind of ease those people out of it. But I found it amazing at the time everyone knew it. I mean, it wasn't a secret or anything, but it was kind of extraordinary that at the same time these people are doing this, there's a machine that could do it better, faster, in many ways more accurate. So yeah, that's just kind of an interesting. I think it's a reality in many industries right now, where people are working, and I think the popular opinion, at least what is presented, is that those people are working and there's a machine that's just waiting on the edges, or that perhaps hasn't even been built yet, that could and will come and take those jobs. The fact is, in many of the industries, the machine already exists and the machine is already doing the job. It's handicapped in a way. There's blocks on that machine that prevent it from doing as much as it could. And again, I think it's probably a good thing. And it's also an inevitable thing that it does take over that job, that industry, whatever it may be. Yeah, so in many of these jobs that I've done, I did a lot of factory work. A lot of these jobs, and the job itself and the idea behind the job, just like every kind of factor within the production line that exists in these jobs. For example, the mail, the truck that brings the mail, the boxes that hold the mail, the slots where you put the mail in, the motorbikes that take the mail out, and the panniers on the side. It's all very old. The idea behind it, the concept, the perspective on how it works is very old. 40, 50 years, sometimes 100 years. Even the technology in many cases. I worked in a metal fabrication plant where we fabricated gutters for houses, and the machines that bent the metal to make the gutters was like 50, 60 years old. Still working, still spitting the gutters out. And in many ways, all of this stuff is out of date. It's not a modern thing. Obviously, it's not. It doesn't take into account new and improved workplace practices and production methods and things like this. It doesn't take into account new technology that exists. And everything is connected. It's interdependent. The delivery system, how it's held, how some product is held in the factory, how it's moved around the factory. To change one thing would be necessary to change everything, because it's so connected and because it's so dependent on this idea that has existed for so long. And what is this idea? It's essentially that there is a human worker within this production line, within this process that leads from, let's say, raw material right up to finished product in a person's house or hand. Every step of the way there is the idea of a person involved. And this dictates the machines we use, the shapes they have. I could go on, but I think the important thing is it dictates things we kind of take for granted. We don't really see. Because ourselves, humans, we all automatically project ourselves into this because, for the entire industrial age, we've been integral to this process. So a man is taken into account at each step, and he's involved in each step. And this is changing. And I think the barrier to that change is the idea that a person needs to be there. But it is changing. I mean, we've all seen the machines that build cars, and you see the arms kind of moving around and soldering and placing pieces into the car, and or we've seen like a carpet cleaner roaming a house, the automatic carpet cleaners. We've begun to see houses printed and steel welded, all without people involved in the physical act. Literally, there is a video of something happening and there isn't a person to be seen, and yet what we know, let's say a car being built, we see it slowly come into being. So this is slowly starting to change. I did these jobs, these mechanical man jobs, because there was something easy about them. There was a lack of responsibility, simplicity and repetition. It was very hard to fail at, and I had no investment in what I did, which I liked. Often I tried to inject some pride in it. I think we all did. Try to take some pride in the fact that many of the jobs were extremely physically demanding. You had to be pretty tough to do them, and we all tried to take a little bit of pride in that. But ultimately, it was, for me at least, it was quite empty. Then very costly as well. Doing these jobs, like It really does take a lot from the people that do them. And I think for me, at least, the money never added up to what I gave. So yeah, I wonder whether there will still be work like this, where there's things like repetition and lack of responsibility and lack of investment, where work that you actually invest yourself in, you give something of yourself, work that is meaningful to the worker, whether that will be all that's left. Can you go into a job 50 years from now and completely detach from it? And if you can, then you've got to ask the question, why isn't a machine doing that? And I think ultimately, where once we get all these repetitive tasks mechanized, you end up going to those kind of ideas. It's like, can you detach from this job? Can a human being just not really be there and just go through the motions? And if the answer is yes, then you have to assume that that job is able to be mechanized. It's given to mechanization. Yeah, so I think the nature of these jobs, they are machine-like. They are fit for mechanical men now, and as it becomes more cost-effective eventually for machines. So the idea that I could go to work and be a machine for 8 hours may disappear, which is, it's kind of it's not a nice thing to say, but I think many of the jobs that are being done by us are these types of jobs where you go in, you go through the motions, you follow a routine, a set of steps, and take very little responsibility, and then you're out. If these go, then many people will obviously be out of work, but is it a bad thing to lose such jobs? If then it promotes the opposite of that, where you take responsibility, you give yourself to the work and really become aware of what you're doing. Yeah, so I think this progress and this process of mechanization it's grounded in the reality that machines can be better machines than humans can. I was never good at the jobs for the most part. It became very, very boring and very depressing, actually. Yeah, so, and I think it's fair to say, I mean, it's not the most fulfilling thing for a human being to do. I think if you asked a lot of these people that are doing it, although they do take pride in what they do, if you said, do you want to do something else, or do you want to just not do this at all, most would say, yeah, okay, I'll stay at home. I think that there will be some that won't be happy about this process, but I think that will be the minority. Yeah, so I think we are seeing the end of the mechanical man. I think ultimately that's a good thing. All right, good talking to you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.